One day, on a hilltop covered with wildflowers, the Lord stepped out among the poor, the sick, and the lost. They sat around him, their eyes filled with longing, their shoulders weighed down with the burdens of life. In a deep voice, the Lord began to tell a story. There was a poor farmer who owned a barren plot of land. Every day he worked hard to plow and sow, but the land seemed to refuse to give him any fruit. Every night, he sat under the moonlight, his calloused hands covering his tired face, and he prayed, "Lord, please give me a miracle to make life less miserable." One night, the Lord appeared to him in a dream. The Lord said, "My son, the miracle is not in what you expect, but in your own hands. Be patient and tend the land as your heart desires, and you will see miracles." The farmer awoke, full of doubt, but he did as the Lord said. He began to cultivate the land with love, not only to cultivate, but also to listen to the breathing of the land. He planted each seed, watering each drop as if he were nourishing his own heart. As the months passed, a miracle happened. The barren land began to blossom. The fields were filled with green, and the abundant harvest brought joy not only to him, but also to his neighbors. The Lord paused. His eyes seemed to shine like the morning sun. He looked at those who were listening and said, "My beloved children, miracles are not the extraordinary things you expect from heaven. Miracles lie in the love, patience, and faith in the little things you do every day. Live with a loving heart, and you will change the world." The words of God flowed like fresh water into each person's heart. They left with hope, knowing that their hands and hearts were the most powerful tools God had given them. From then on, that hill was not only a meeting place for lost people, but also a place where they found light and began their journey of sowing seeds of love. Those who left the hill that day carried with them a new light. Each of God's teachings was not just a sound, but a seed that had quietly sprouted in their hearts. They began to live differently, more loving, more patient, and more courageous in the challenges of everyday life. A single mother, who had always blamed life for the burden of raising a child alone, now began to see joy in her child's smile. She no longer prayed for relief from hardship, but instead prayed for strength to overcome. The meals, though simple, were filled with the love she had for her son. An old blacksmith, who had been discouraged by the hard work, began to find joy in each hammer blow. He realized that each horseshoe he made was not just a commodity, but a means to help others on their journey. He smiled because he felt he was part of a larger life. The poorest man in the village, who had been shunned by everyone, began to change. He stopped blaming his fate and used his hands to help the elderly. At first, it was just a few buckets of water, a few bundles of firewood, but then those small actions gradually changed the way people looked at him. From an outcast, he became a loved one. Each person, in their own way, applied God's teachings to their lives. They no longer sought miracles from the sky, but created miracles from their own love, tolerance, and strength in their souls. And strangely enough, the hill where God once stood also changed. From a desolate place, it gradually became a beautiful garden. Those who had heard God's words returned, bringing with them seeds, saplings, and love. Together, they planted, cared for, and turned the hill into a living symbol of the teachings they had received. Every year, they gather there, not only to remember the day God gave his teachings, but also to share their own stories. One tells of how he forgave someone who had hurt him. Another tells of the joy of seeing his family reunited after so many misunderstandings. They realize that miracles are not something to be prayed for, but something they create themselves through love and faith. And from above, God smiles. In the light of love and change, his teachings live on, not only in the hearts of those people, but also in the world they built. As the years passed, the hill became a sacred symbol of hope and unity. Later generations heard the story of the Lord's appearance and teachings, and they did not regard it as a distant legend, but as a living legacy. One day, a little girl named Anna came to the hill from a remote village. Anna had a simple dream: to meet people who had been changed by the Lord's teachings. She heard about the hill from her grandmother, who always said, "Go there if you feel tired, you will find the answer." Anna was an orphan, growing up amidst loss and pain, but she did not harbor resentment, but only a burning desire to do something meaningful with her life. When she arrived, Anna saw the hill full of flowers and people working. Some were planting trees, some were taking care of the flowers, some were teaching children to read. Anna approached an old man with calloused hands but a gentle gaze. The little girl asked, "Sir, is this really where God appeared?" The old man smiled, pointing to his heart. "He appears not only here, but also in me, in each person. Why did you come here?" Anna was silent. After a while, the little girl said, "I want to do something to make the world better, but I am so small, I don't know what to do." The old man put his hand on Anna's shoulder, his eyes shining with encouragement. "You don't have to do anything big. Start with the smallest thing, with all your love. A flower can brighten up a garden. A gentle word can soothe a broken heart. You are the seed of a miracle." Those words made Anna cry. She felt a magical power rising within her, as if someone had lit a fire in her heart. From that day on, Anna began to take care of the garden, helping others and spreading love through small acts. Years later, Anna became a guide for those who were lost, just like she had found the light on the hill years ago. She always told the story of God's teachings and how it transformed her life. And every time she told the story, she always repeated, "We are all seeds. As long as we have love and faith, we will bloom in the midst of life." That hill was not just a place, but became a symbol of revival and miracles, where everyone was reminded that the light was not far away, but always present in their hearts. And thanks to that, God's teachings continued to spread through each generation, like a river flowing forever. As time passed, the hill became a center of unity and love. People came not only to hear the story of God's teachings, but also to contribute to writing that story. They brought with them not only admiration, but also unfinished dreams, aspirations to live a meaningful life. Anna, now an adult, is still attached to the hill. She became the garden's keeper, and at the same time the one who shared God's teachings with those who came here. Every day, she welcomed people who brought their own questions and concerns. One morning, Anna met a middle-aged man named Thomas. He came to the hill with tired eyes and calloused hands of a man who had experienced many years of hard work. Thomas said that he used to be a successful businessman, but after a major event, he lost everything: family, property, and even faith in life. Thomas said to Anna, "People told me to come here to find hope, but I don't believe it. I have nothing left. How can I start over?" Anna listened in silence. She led Thomas to a corner of the garden, where there was an ancient tree with lush green leaves. Anna said, "Do you see this tree? It was once a small seed, buried in the barren soil and rocks. But thanks to caring hands, sunlight, and cool rain, it grew and became a shade for many people. You are like that too. Even though everything has collapsed, you still have yourself. It is the seed of a new beginning." Thomas was silent for a long time, then he looked up at the ancient tree. In his eyes that had been drained of hope, a small ray of light began to shine. He decided to stay on the hill for a while, to join in the work of taking care of the garden and helping others. The months of working here healed Thomas's heart. From a man who thought he had lost everything, he found meaning in simple things. After a while, he left the hill, carrying a new soul. He returned to his village, started planting trees, teaching children, and helping families in need. Thomas's story spread far and wide, becoming a source of inspiration for many people, and just like that, from the hill, waves of love spread everywhere. Anna continues her mission, working with others to make the garden more and more beautiful. Every year, they hold a special holiday, where people from all over return to the hill to share their stories of change, of faith and love that were inspired by the teachings of God. And in the evening light, as Anna stood watching the smiles, the hugs, and the dreams reborn, she knew that God's teachings were not just a memory, but a life force that radiated forever, a light that never went out in the hearts of humanity. Many years later, the hill is not only a gathering place for lost people, but also a symbol of rebirth, of miracles planted by love and faith. Stories from the hill have spread far and wide, beyond the borders of the village, reaching faraway places. Anna, now in her twilight years, still plays the role of a storyteller and caretaker of the hill. Although time has left traces on her face, Anna's eyes still shine with warmth and unchanging faith. One day, a group of children came to the hill with their families. They were a new generation, children who had never heard of God's teachings, but were curious and innocent. A small girl with bright eyes asked Anna, "Grandma, what did God say to everyone here? Did he perform miracles to save everyone?" Anna smiled, sitting down next to the children. She slowly told the story of the day God appeared on the hill, about his teaching that miracles do not come from the sky, but lie in each person's heart, in small but loving actions. After listening, a boy in the group asked, "So can we also do miracles?" Anna nodded, her eyes filled with encouragement. "That's right. Each of you has the power to do miracles. As long as you live with love, share joy, and help those around you, you will see miracles bloom from your own hearts." The children excitedly started running around the garden, taking care of the plants, picking wild flowers, and laughing. In the afternoon sunlight, Anna silently watched them, her heart filled with peace. She knew that God's teachings not only lived in those who came before, but also continued to grow in the hearts of the next generation. One evening, as Anna sat in a corner of the garden filled with flowers, she looked up at the starry sky and whispered, "Lord, I have lived fully as you taught me. I have seen the seeds you sowed blossom, not only here but all over the world. I thank you for giving me faith, love, and the strength to live a meaningful life." That night, Anna passed away in her sleep, as gently as a breeze passing through the garden. The people on the hill held a ceremony to remember her, who had kept the flame of God's teachings alive all her life. They set up a stone bench under the old tree where she used to tell stories to everyone, as a symbol to remind them that miracles never die, as long as there is faith and love. From then on, the hill continued to be a place for people to come. Stories about God, about Anna, and about small miracles were still told, like a river that never dried up. And the world, thanks to the seeds of love, continues to blossom in the light of compassion and undying faith. After Anna left this world, the hill still kept her warmth and spirit in every tree, blade of grass, and in every story that was passed down. The people did not let the sadness of separation overwhelm them, but continued to live with love and gratitude. They planted more new trees, expanded the garden, and named it the Garden of Miracles. One day, a young family from a faraway city came to the hill. The mother, Maria, was grieving because her young son, Luca, was seriously ill. The doctor said that the boy's hope of survival was very slim, and Maria came here not to find a miracle, but just to find a little peace for herself and her son. When she set foot on the hill, Maria felt something different. The air here was gentle, as if every breath carried comfort. She and Luca were warmly welcomed by the people. An old man in the village told Maria a story about God, about Anna, and about miracles created by love. Maria was silent, listening to every word. That evening, under the gentle moonlight, she sat next to Luca, held his hand and whispered, "I don't know if miracles really exist, but I know one thing for sure. I love you with all my heart. We will live each day to the fullest, together. Okay?" As the days on the hill passed, Maria and Luca gradually found joy in the little things, the dewy mornings, the chirping of birds, and the kindness of the people here. Luca, despite his weakness, smiled more. He helped take care of the garden, told stories to the other children, and gradually became a part of life here. As time passed, Luca's health began to show miraculous signs of improvement. The doctors could not explain, but Maria believed that the love, hope, and peaceful air of the hill helped her son overcome his illness. Years later, Luca grew up, becoming a strong and kind young man. He continued Anna's mission, becoming the one to tell the story of God's teachings, of the miracle of love and faith. The hill became more and more radiant, becoming a symbol of life and kindness. New generations kept coming, bringing with them their sorrows, hopes, and dreams. And each person, when leaving, carried a part of the miracle in their hearts, to spread to faraway places. The happy ending was not only Luca's resurrection, but the continuation of the light and love that the hill had planted. God taught them that miracles are not far away, and they proved it with their own lives. The hill is now not only the place where God once stood, but also the place where he lives forever in the hearts of those who loved and were loved. And the world, thanks to it, continues to blossom in the light of love and undying faith.